Welcome, everyone. I'm Monica Pepicelli from KPI Partners, and I'm your MC. For those of you who may not know, KPI Partners is an award-winning consultancy in the areas of cloud applications, big data, business intelligence, and data discovery. We are pleased today to be joined by two guests, Brian Caruso, Solutions Consultant at Oracle, and Miles Gilsonen, Director of Client Services at KPI Partners' Oracle Business Intelligence Practice. Brian has been working with business intelligence, data warehousing, and big data solutions since 1997 and with Oracle since 2003. Brian has functional resources expertise across the organization with CHRO, VPHR, HR analyst, and line of business roles. And Miles has 25 years of experience designing and deploying large-scale ERP and business intelligence systems. Prior to joining KPI Partners, he held senior technology positions focused on developing innovative BI solutions for several Fortune 500 companies. He has been leveraging Oracle technologies for the last 15 years with primary emphasis on the development of game-changing analytics for human resources, finance, and procurement. This session is the second webinar in a series that focuses on getting better analytics in the cloud. Next slide. Oh, there we go. For today's agenda, we will be discussing the challenges with existing HR reporting solutions and the opportunities ahead. We will also look at the value drivers of BI solutions for HR, KPI Cloud Analytics for HR, what is Oracle BI Cloud Services and Visual Analyzer, and what is KPI Cloud Analytics. This will be followed by a demonstration of KPI Cloud Analytics for HR and a quick overview of the implementation and support that Oracle and KPI provide. Miles, you have the floor.
Thank you, Monica. So we're going to get started today with a customer case study that stresses the importance of HR analytics. This is from the KPI Partners case files. This is a multi-billion-dollar retailer with a nationwide footprint across the USA. Revenue is about $10 billion. What was occurring was an unexplained drop in store profitability. So they began to look at the normal causative factors for profitability, and they really couldn't explain why this drop was occurring. And after they had exhausted other avenues, they looked at HR events. And they found for a couple of stores that there was a correlation between the drop in profitability and the resignation of the store manager. So they expanded their analysis, and they saw a very positive correlation between store managers leaving and profitability dropping. With a little bit more investigation, they found that the employees of the store would lose a little bit of direction, maybe a little motivation. There may have even been some theft. The new store manager would have a learning curve, wouldn't be buying the right things. They would run low and run out of items. So they found that really critical to profitability was to retain store managers, and of course, train the ones that weren't doing well, but certainly the ones doing well, to retain them. So they shifted their focus from reporting and really shifted to retention of store managers, and saw a nice hit to the bottom line. So that's a nice intro to how important HR analytics can be across the spectrum of the organization. I'm going to hand it over to Brian now.
Great. Thanks, Miles. So in today's very dynamic business climate, HR organizations are really under increasing pressure from the board and from investors to really address employee retention issues and employee turnover rates. This is actually a very common challenge among HR organizations that we work with on a daily basis. Unfortunately, the reality is that today we find that much of the request itself to address retention issues falls on the HR analyst's shoulders. And so today the process is actually largely managed by spreadsheet. And analysts will often have to use large extracts from the HR system to try to calculate headcount variance rates and vacancy rates and performance turnovers. You should do this by manually joining and aggregating data in Excel. So this is often very labor-intensive and error-prone, and unfortunately it's very out of date the very next day, so she'll have to repeat the same process over and over again the next time she's asked. So the result is often very inconsistent with varying degrees of success, and it isn't easily repeatable. And really, the business impact is that often the HR doesn't have an accurate view of workforce profile, and they aren't effectively able to measure and track the effectiveness of HR programs. As a result, there's often very poor alignment of HR strategy with corporate growth strategy, lack of visibility into the effectiveness of those HR programs, and poor alignment within departments and across the enterprise. So we're actually here to tell you today there's a better way. The business opportunities that HR organizations need a comprehensive set of analytic capabilities across a variety of roles. So HR executives like CHRO don't want to have to sift through reams of information to get business insights. They want targeted metrics delivered to their mobile and devices and iPads and tablets, and they want those metrics delivered immediately, and so in a very consumable way. Really, focus on the HR metrics that matter to those targeted personas. HR analysts, however, needed powerful analytic tools that allow them to really rapidly develop insights from data. They need to be able to easily distribute and share their findings to key user communities. Line of business need divisional analysis, while executives need a cross-divisional or enterprise view. So the key here is to provide that alignment within and across departments, focusing on key metrics and key indicators, and really use insights to form hypotheses and argue opinions for tactical and strategic changes in the organization. Next slide. So this next graphic really depicts the HR analytics spectrum and maturity model. So as we move up to the right in the continuum, the business value actually increases, as well as the HR information maturity. So in the bottom half of this graphic, and the light gray is really a typical operational reporting environment. So extracts and lists of employees that are extracted from the HR system, and really just to answer those basic questions: what is happening? So you actually may be doing a lot of this type of reporting today using your traditional tools embedded in ERP reporting tools within PeopleSoft and eBusiness Suite. So the challenge is that operational reporting answers the what is happening types of questions, not necessarily the why is it happening or what might be happening. How could I change it types of forward-looking and strategic questions. So the top layer in the darker gray is really the opportunity for providing strategic analytics, and this is the focus of today's webcast. The strategic analytics moves the needle from basic operational types of reporting, embedded reporting, to strategic analytics. It provides real insights and integrated analytics into the workforce profile, employee retention and attrition and payroll analysis. Answering questions around why my attrition rate's rising, what can I do to become more agile with my HR development plans. So it's really about maximizing your workforce investments to create a more highly engaged and more scalable workforce that better aligns to your strategic business objectives across the organization. And so that's really the opportunity. Miles?
Okay, thanks, Brian. We also want to talk about what some of the drivers of value are in today's world for BI solutions for HR. We're all aware that the world continues to change very, very quickly in the technology space. There are ever more options for the HR professional to get information. Almost everyone these days is taking an integrated approach to managing their human capital. It's not okay to have a siloed approach. You need to integrate learning management, recruitment, retention, compensation, payroll, time and labor. It all needs to be integrated. So integration is the first thing that's key. And it is not uncommon these days to have more than one source system taking care of that. It's also not uncommon to have a mix of cloud-based applications and on-premise applications. So integration is key. Agility is also key. Again, in today's world, we have to be able to quickly change systems, add new metrics, add new calculations. Self-service, I'm sure you've heard that phrase these days, but it is very, very true. The days of waiting for 3 months to get my report from IT are long gone and simply not acceptable in today's kind of fast-paced competitive environment. The information needs to be there. It needs to be accessible in a manner that allows for further analysis after that first screen. And visualization, another vital aspect. People are getting more and more used to consuming data in ways that tell a story right straight away without having to, go through lists and lists. And they are expecting to use their platform not just to look at a screen, but to interact with that data, to find out things, to learn new things, to get new insights. So to have a real, true interactive experience with their platform. And that's really what's required these days. That's really the price of entry. And I think we feel confident that the solution you'll see today really hits on all these quite strongly. Okay, Brian, head over to you.
Yep. So, talking a little bit about what is the solution to the challenge and the opportunity here. So KPI Cloud Analytics for HR is based on the Oracle BI Cloud Service Foundation, which provides strategic analytic capabilities across all roles in the organization, from HR executives to analysts and line of business personnel. So it provides powerful self-service capabilities and visual exploration of spreadsheet data, delivered KPIs and dashboards all on a secure mobile-enabled platform in the Oracle Cloud. The business benefit is really fast time to value and minimal barrier to entry because it's provisioned quickly and frees you from large, complex, and costly infrastructure investments. The cloud service really provides you that greater autonomy and empowers you with having to rely on IT for your strategic analytic capabilities. It's fully secure and managed zero-maintenance platform is upgraded and patched and maintained by Oracle in the Oracle Cloud environment. So it's really easy to share insight across the business and collaborate with others in a web-based environment or on a tablet or mobile platform. BI Cloud Service provides that self-service visual exploration of local spreadsheet data that can be joined with managed data sets from HR, your ERP systems, PeopleSoft, and eBusiness suite. Next slide. So Oracle BI Cloud Service Foundation is based on a proven business intelligence platform with rich visualization and self-service dashboarding capabilities, and you'll see some of that in the demonstration. It's provided for all users in the enterprise. And the foundation allows for users to collaborate within and among teams to really share insights and drive real business value for your company, allowing you to differentiate from your competition. Next slide. So fast time to value. So it's quickly provisioned. From the point you sign up, Oracle provides the environment for you. No installation required, all managed by Oracle, patching and upgrades, and you really just log on and you can start using it from day one. So very, very quick and fast time to value for you to realize the business value of your initiatives. Miles?
Okay, great. Thanks, Brian. So I'm going to talk about what is KPI Cloud Analytics. Brian just talked about the Oracle Business Intelligence Cloud Service. That's the platform on which we have created KPI Cloud Analytics application suite. And what they are, they're pre-built applications for Oracle EBS, PeopleSoft, and JD Edwards. And they include pre-built ETL, so that's extract, transform, and load. So those are the routines that pull the data out of your source system. Pre-built metrics, reports, dashboards, and visualizations. These are built on the BICS platform in a way that allows them to be extended easily. As I say, 100% built on the Oracle BICS platform, and they are certified by Oracle in the Oracle Cloud Marketplace. If you go online to the Oracle Cloud Marketplace, you'll see KPI's pre-built analytical applications. So what actually exists? So there are a set of analytical modules across a number of functional areas, automatically pulling information from EBS, PeopleSoft, and JD Edwards. You can see that there's a full suite of applications across finance, procurement, inventory, order management, HR, fixed assets, manufacturing, and projects for EBS, and you can see what is available for PeopleSoft and JD. For HR, the two main systems, EBS and PeopleSoft, we've got full applications for both of those. In terms of the actual content itself, you can see on the slide here, pre-built subject areas, metrics, dashboards, and reports. So we have basically taken the approach of focusing on the most core metrics and the transactional information that underpins metrics, as well as the metrics themselves. And that's what we've brought over into the application that you will see. So how does it work? So it's pretty straightforward. KPI has created, pre-built the routines to pull the information out of your on-premise e-business suite or PeopleSoft HR application, and we load it up into the cloud, and in the cloud is a pre-built data warehouse with a data model that's been optimized for HR reporting, and it's built for the full spectrum of HR data, whether it's learning management or whether it's recruiting, retention, compensation, a full spectrum of HR data, and pre-built metrics, reports, dashboards, visits. So KPI has done the heavy lifting, and pulling information out of complex ERP systems, I think can be categorized as heavy lifting for anyone who's tried it. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the dashboard areas that are in KPI's Cloud Analytics for Human Resources, and then Brian will give you a demonstration. So first, workforce profile. This area is going to talk to you about the demographics of your workforce, percentage breakout of employee versus contingent workers, span of control. This is the area that's really going to give you the composition of your workforce. The next area is workforce development. So be able to quickly understand how your workforce is performing. And we know that this is vital to having a healthy workforce, one that's really contributing to the bottom line. So two ends of the spectrum, the ones that get all the attention, no offense to the people in the middle, but people at the bottom, the chronic underperformers, you'll be able to see exactly who those folks are, what jobs they have, and allow you to go investigate what's happening there. At the other end of the spectrum, the top performers, what's the attrition trend? And for supervisors, what percentage of supervisors are underperforming? Is there a relationship between underperforming supervisors and attrition of top performers? You can also see what the internal organizations have the most top performers. Following on naturally to retention. So really good, rich, and deep set of analytics here. So you'll see change from last period, which jobs have the highest turnover. There are always, every company has jobs that just have a high turnover, and you want to know about those so you can be proactive about that. This will also give you an insight into top performance at risk, again, allowing you to be proactive, and then what's the 3-year trend. So it's a common theme. This is an analytical suite of applications. The transactions are there. There are reports for operational, but it is an analytical, so you'll see trending and pre-built metrics. Compensation, of course, one of the most core aspects of human resources. What are we paying people? What's the percentage breakout of overtime, variable compensation, base compensation, what's the 3-year trend, what's the total compensation for internal organizations, what's the compensation by job family, and how are top performers being paid in relation to average performers. There's a body of study and education and information that suggests that top performers should be paid disproportionately higher than even the average performers in a bid to retain them, because their impact can be so disproportionate to everybody else's. So this gives you insight into that. And lastly, recruitment. And as much as anyone loves their job or their company or whatever, obviously happens if people leave and growth occurs. So nothing is more vital than getting the right people into those positions. If you can't do that, everything else is not really a conversation. So this is really deep, good set of metrics here. Open vacancies, average time to fill a vacancy. What you'll see is there's a lot of calculation of the time it takes to do things. Once a vacancy, so how long does it take to get a requisition? How long does it take to get that approved? How long does it take to get filled? Even once you fill that requisition, how long does it take to actually have the person get hired? We've all been in the situation where so-and-so was filled and it was all approved, and for some reason 2 months later they showed up on site, and it wasn't because they didn't want to. So this helps you give insight of where the logjams are in the process. And there's also some key metrics around, how many offers did we send, how many were accepted and rejected, what are the best sources? Is it word of mouth? Is it Monster? Is it DICE? Is it which particular recruiting firm? Is it an ad that we placed? And which internal recruiters are the most effective at filling? And that also ties into the metrics. Which recruiters are filling requisitions the quickest? Which recruiters are filling the most vacancies, etc. Okay, so that's some insight. So I guess enough talk. Let's get into the application. Let's see what we're talking about here. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Brian.
Great. So now that we've discussed the business challenges and kind of reviewed the opportunity and discussed the solution a little bit, let's take a closer look at a brief demonstration. And so today I'll be demonstrating the really rich pre-built dashboard content in KPI Cloud Analytics for HR, really as the director of HR in that role. And then we'll shift roles slightly toward the end of this demonstration to take a look at how an HR analyst can use spreadsheets to perform detailed, really attrition analyses using visual exploration with KPI Cloud Analytics for HR. So as a director of HR, I'm landing here on the workforce profile dashboard page, and it really, for the HR organizations that we work with, tracking and managing headcount, statistics, and KPIs, isn't always an easy thing to do, and as I mentioned, really is done oftentimes in spreadsheets, especially changes over time that are provided as you see here. So KPI Analytics for HR provides really the key metrics that matter around headcount. So headcount, this period, prior period, different growth rates that I can track here. You notice that everything is highlighted in terms of these performance tiles that you can see are highlighted red, yellow, green. So I know how I'm doing at any given point. So it's really understanding the distribution of employees around different areas of the business. So as I kind of move over to the demographics tab, I'm able to see headcount distribution by different areas of the business, not only in terms of things like age, but also, you can see in this case, employee highest education degree. So I can flip between the different types of areas within the employee base, and then just see my distribution of employees, both the percentages and the numbers. And then looking at things like length of service as well in terms of job demographics, performance band, high potential employees. So really slicing and dicing to that level. And everything here you can see here is dynamic and trended over time. So that historical analysis is really key for strategic analytics that are provided with KPI Cloud Analytics. And so I can select from any number of different prompts that I have here, year, quarter, month, or even organization hierarchy, as you see here. So as I apply the different filters and from the prompts that I've selected, it refreshes the view on the page. And one thing that I can actually do is to save my selection. So based on what I've selected in the prompts and how I've formatted the dashboard, I can actually save my current customization. So really that it's just saving some defaults so that I don't have to make my selections again the next time I visit this page. I can reset back to default values and then apply that filter. So you can see real powerful metrics around workforce profile. You can see at the bottom left, I have some guided business types of questions that I can answer using the KPI Cloud Analytics solution for HR. This one is particularly around how are we doing at developing employee talent. So as I click on that, I'm taken to a slightly different dashboard page that focuses on workforce development, the development of my employee base. Both in terms of development for top performers in these organizations, as well as understanding who are the chronic underperformers. You can, in this case, drill into the underperformers to see the detailed breakdown. Where are those individuals in the organization? What are the supervisor advisors for those individuals. So really some advanced analytics in the areas of workforce development. So I can see where I'm losing folks month over month, and again, this is all based on historical perspective, so that's real key here. At the bottom, I can see another link that says, are we compensating our employees competitively? So that would guide me over to the compensation dashboard. And this really puts key compensation metrics at my fingertips. So they'll resonate for a lot of the folks out there in terms of understanding things like average variable comp, gross compensation, overtime. And you'll see that overtime metric, and we'll see an example of how the HR analyst can drill into what's driving that uptake in overtime. So key things here, I can look at monthly compensation trends for base compensation. Maybe I want to flip over to overtime compensation and see trends year over year or month over month. Wow, I've got some real spike here in the July timeframe of overtime that I may want to look at in a little more detail. So I may want to alert, as the HR director, I might want to alert my HR analyst to take a look at it in more detail. And then, just clicking on these performance tiles, I get into more detailed compensation analysis, and this gets me over to a more detailed picture of average annual compensation by different job families. I can see for sales and consulting, what is the breakdown of variable comp, base compensation by different job families. I can see this is average annual compensation by geography, so I can flip over and basically move between the job families I have in my organization. So I may want to look at finance or some of the other areas in the organization. If I flip back to this graphic, it's showing me a graph, but I can flip over to look at it in the table format. And then, as an executive, I really like to have things in tabular, and I may want to actually export this to Excel, so I can export it in different formats: Excel, PowerPoint, just the data itself, or print in different formats. So what's nice here is I can also, from the end user perspective, drag these up into sections or table prompts. And you can see what that looks like in terms of being able to slip through in just a drop-down menu, as opposed to having it in a tabular format. So really lots of flexibility there. If I flip over to pay for performance, really key stuff here around understanding how I'm paying folks, and if I'm paying folks competitively, commensurate with their performance in the organization. So if I hover over this for vision administration, this large bubble, I've got a lot of folks in that vision administration group, and my mean performance ratio is about 3, and the comp ratio is hovering about 1. So it's about average in terms of how I'm paying folks. But if I go to the upper quadrant here, my mean performance rating is about at 5, and so I'm paying folks a lot more in terms of their relationship with other peer groups. So the comp ratio is hovering about 3. So real key metrics there. Comp ratio is probably very familiar to the folks out there. And then understanding my employee performance. So the distribution of that for different organizations. If I want to understand my recruiting pipeline and how I'm managing that, I can click over and look at how I'm managing my recruiting pipeline. And that'll actually get me into the recruiting dashboard. Real key metrics here around recruitment and how I'm managing the pipeline. Average time to fill types of metrics, those key recruiting metrics, how I'm doing at filling those positions, my applicant hire ratios, starts, different types of metrics around recruiting. I may want to see, in this case, how many offers were rejected. I've got 292, which is trending up, and so that's a little alarming. I want to drill into that to understand the detail behind that, so I can see the distribution of the offers, which ones were rejected, for which reason. So in this case, if I hover over, I can see 36 offers were rejected for lack of benefits. I've got about 28 that were rejected due to lack of flexible work conditions. So tells me where I maybe need to address issues in terms of making things a little bit more competitive. And then I can see the folks that accepted offers, the offers extended, the accepted offers by the different job families in the organization. If I use my breadcrumbs to go back to the recruitment overview, I'll be back on the main page, and really this gets me back into another dashboard. I really want to focus on things like understanding how I'm doing at retaining our human capital, so employee retention issues. And as HR director, I'm really keen to understand that, as Miles was talking about. It's one of the key metrics. So I can see my current period turnover, my prior period turnover, and I've got obviously some uptick in terms of folks that are leaving the organization. You can see 30% change from prior period. That is not good. It's why it's highlighted in yellow. And as the HR director, I want to understand what's driving that. I want to understand the root cause. And so from here, I want to transition to my HR analyst. I want to pick up the phone and really let them know there's an issue that I want them to investigate. And from an HR analyst perspective, getting into more data visualization or exploration of data. In this case, as the HR analyst, just to kind of set this up a bit, is that I've received this file from the director of HR in an Excel format. And so I really want to focus on this Excel and really understand it a little bit better and drill into what's driving that attrition uptick. So I'm going to create this project using the Excel file that I have. And so I'm going to upload a file that I have received and just really browse to it from the HR analyst perspective. So I can browse to my workforce data that I received from my HR director. And really, it's just going to process the file and give me a list of columns. And then I can override in terms of how those columns are actually formatted from an end user perspective. So as soon as this kind of loads up, I have the ability as the end user to make selections and to override the format of the different columns that are in the spreadsheet. So this is a spreadsheet of really just the individual employee data. So I've got one kind of row for employee. You can see I've got some salaries, some overtime metrics, years from retirement, those types of basic metrics. And really, you know, what I want to do for my overtime is actually set that to be average. I don't want to actually sum the overtime metric, and really gives me kind of a better view of my overtime distribution throughout the organization. So once this is loaded up, I want to take a look at what's driving the attrition rates in the organization. And so what I'm able to do in this interface is to start to kind of interrogate the spreadsheet. You'll see on the left as this kind of loads up that I'll have a sort of palette of information that I can select from and drag to my canvas. It's sort of like letting the information tell a story. And then what I want to focus on are the folks that have left the organization, so the number of folks that have quit and the reasons why. And so I'll really create analysis based on that. I don't know much about the data that I've received from the HR director, and so it's really allowing me to better interrogate that information just in a kind of ad hoc kind of way. So as soon as this comes up here, it'll take a few more seconds, but I'll have my list of data elements. This is taking a bit of time here. I'll go back and kind of recreate the one that I had with the file that I already have loaded up. And so my file itself is loaded into the project. And I really just want to look at things like the folks that have quit and the count. And we'll look at that over year. And really, as I'm dragging that over to my palette, the system is actually processing that and able to give me a distribution of folks that have left the organization and the reasons for that. So it's very easily for me to flip across between, say, just the stack bar that was there to a simple bar chart, and then I can flip between, say, the year and the reason. I want to flip that over time so I can see that a little bit better. So some patterns are emerging already. I can see 2012 I had about 9 people that have left for more money. About the same number that have left for work-life balance issues. But in 2012 here, I've got about 10 people that have left due to work-life balance issues. I don't have any people that have left due to wanting more money. And so some things are emerging here. I think I may have some issues related to overtime compensation or overtime hours being put in. And so what I can do is actually look at, say, my overtime distribution, to my salary, and I'm going to look at that by employee, and just pull that over to my palette. And so it's going to select a scatter, and that really is just plotting each kind of an individual employee by the reason they left the organization. Maybe I want to rearrange overtime to be up on the y-axis, so I have a little bit of a different view. And then this shows me the employee distribution, but I might want to look at that by, say, the reason they left, and so I'm going to shade that in a color. So some really interesting things are emerging. I've got the distribution of employees again that have left due to work-life balance issues. If I go over to this visualization and start highlighting these areas in terms of the folks that have left due to work-life balance issues, I can see that there's a linkage and a correlation between the graphics. So you can see on the left, it's actually highlighting the employees that fall into those different categories. And as I would expect, the folks that are clustered at the top here related to overtime. If I hover over some of these employees, I can see that on average they're spending about 700 to 700 hours per year in overtime. So that's a big number. As I would expect as well, if I kind of click over on this more money reason that they've left, I would expect to see that there are all the employees that have left due to wanting more money are low on the scale in terms of salary, and that's on my x-axis here. So, really proving out my hypothesis in that area. Maybe I want to look at the number of employees. I want to look at my head count, and then I want to look at my overtime. And again, I'm just multi-selecting that. I want to look at that by state. And so I can see a geographical distribution of that on a map. So I'm going to create a map view. It really allows me to see, okay, where do I have my my employees, and where are they working the most overtime on average, based on a geographical view of that information. So as this comes up here, so I can see that I have my states kind of mapped out. I can see, in this case, Texas is the darkest. That means I have the most head count. But I'm looking at overtime average about 269 hours or so spent in Texas. And then if I hover over this for Florida, I can see my overtime is averaging about 362 hours. So I'm really able to hone in on, okay, well, where is this happening geographically? So not only do I've proven my hypothesis around overtime, but I can be able to see that by geographic view of the information. So I really want to select the employees that fall into that work-life balance issue. So I want to keep those selections. I basically can lasso those employees and keep those in my filter criteria to really hone in on, okay, which employees are falling into that category. And then maybe I wanted to add an additional analysis around which job role that they fall into. So it really allows me to just quickly select and lasso things that I want to keep. You can see that I kept that selection. And maybe I want to just shade that instead by just pulling that job group down to the shape. And you'll see here quickly kind of what happens, but basically my distribution of employees that fall into the different job groups, whether they're revenue or cost types of roles. And then I can actually just really focus in on maybe these individuals are actually in the revenue or cost group. And you can see what has happened here now is in the job group being basically the shape is a square. And so the folks that are in the revenue job group are the folks that are leaving due to work-life balance. So really to complete the scenario, I've proven, okay, where does that actually happen, which job groups, and then I want to go back to, instead of looking at my tabular view in terms of my bar, I want to look at that by department instead of the reason. And it would determine that the issue was related to high levels of overtime and find out where that was happening, both geographically and in which job roles. And so I can relay my findings back to the director of HR. So in summary, we saw how the KPI Cloud Analytics provide us with rich strategic analytics across all areas of human capital management. We saw the analysts use visual exploration to quickly interpret employee nutrition data. And it is all deployed quickly at lowest cost of ownership. And it's a very powerful strategic analytics solution for all roles in the organization. Okay, back to you, Miles.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Brian. If we'll there we go. Okay. So excellent, great. Really exciting. There are a lot of really insightful content. So key takeaways of the KPI Cloud Analytics for HR solution. Fast time to value. We've done heavy lifting for you. Can easily integrate multiple HR systems. So if you're in an environment with multiple, the BICS platform and the pre-built data model that KPI has created is set up to accept the full range of HR data. So integrating multiple systems is not a problem. Quick answers to key questions at your fingertips. Load your data, sign on, you've got your answers. Proactivity, so basically getting ahead of the curve there and putting people in a position to take action, to make decisions at a whole new level of understanding. Advanced visualizations, so I think you just saw that, but the pretty natural, intuitive dialogue with the data. Also native mobile support, didn't talk about that much, but everything you saw is supported on mobile devices right straight away, out of the box, no development required. Okay, so let's talk some just basic questions around implementation and support. So great, how do I purchase this? Okay, so the Business Intelligence Cloud Service license is purchased from Oracle, and that's a monthly subscription. So it's a software as a service model, so a monthly subscription. KPI is following the lead of Oracle in that regard. The KPI Cloud Analytics for Human Resources is a monthly subscription, so SaaS model, easier on the capital budget, probably an operating expense, monthly pricing. To implement, KPI Partners has several quick start packages depending on the number of modules that you want to implement, et cetera. Today we're talking about HR. As I say, we've done the heavy lifting, so we can get customers up and running in a matter of weeks. Also, it's fully extensible if you find that, well, we'd like to add a column, we'd like a different report, or, hey, this is awesome, we'd like to create our own reports. This is great, we can create our own reports. Either one of those, both are supported. KPI can help you create some new reports, or we can just show you how, and you can create some additional reports on your own if you want that. But, okay, and how is support provided? So Oracle will be providing support for the BICS platform itself. So anything related to Oracle's infrastructure, very powerful infrastructure I might add, but anything related to that, availability, performance, and of course Oracle will be upgrading that cloud platform, and those upgrades do not impact the KPI Cloud content. KPI is a customer of Oracle for BI Cloud Services. We've already been through several upgrades of the BICS platform, and they've been seamless, no issues, and performance has not been an issue. So KPI supports the content in the KPI Cloud Analytics application. So we'll support any issues on content, and we'll provide updates to that content as the underlying ERP systems upgrade, or we're just putting out new versions with new enhancements. Okay, just real quickly, next steps before we move on to Q&A. Please contact your Oracle BI representative, and they can talk to you about Oracle BICS pricing and demo BICS. And for the Cloud Analytics, we at KPI will do a kind of a free 1-hour assessment. We'll get on the call, walk through your requirements, talk to you about what might be the best way to proceed forward. And that's no problem. So you can contact us at info@kpipartners.com or that phone number right there. And this presentation after this will be out on the web, so you can download the presentation as well. Monica, turn it back to you.
Okay. At this point in our session, we will open up the forum for any questions from the attendees. And it looks like I see a question coming in. So Anand is asking, where does Oracle support stop and KPIs begin?
Yeah, so Oracle provides support for the foundation, the Business Intelligence Cloud Service Foundation, including the technology and the actual platform itself. And then KPI provides support for, and ongoing support for updates around the content itself, and can also provide some add-on services around the environment as well. So it's kind of a combination approach there.
Okay. Donna is asking, can you download the report to Excel and print specific data?
Yeah, so you can absolutely download the report to various formats, Excel and PowerPoint, or just the data itself, and then print to PDF and several other formats as well. So absolutely.
Okay. We have Eileen asking, how frequently do you refresh the data from the ERP app to the cloud?
Sure. Most customers want once a day. That's typically overnight, so we'll refresh from the ERP system into the cloud database overnight. But some customers want it more frequently than nightly, and that's fully supported. We can do it multiple times a day. It really depends on the customer needs.
All right, we have another question. Eric is asking, can I bring together ERP and non-ERP data in the cloud?
Sure, I might take the first one at that, Brian. Yeah, absolutely, and it's one of the benefits, one of the powers of the BICS platform. That integration can take a couple of different forms. Number one, it can be kind of fully automated in the way that we talked about earlier. You might be bringing in, say, PeopleSoft, Taleo, maybe Kronos, and bringing that into an automated manner into the KPI data model for HR. So pre-built data models to support all different types of information from different data sources. Or if you're wanting to do something, let's say periodically, once a month, or you're wanting to upload some information for a specific analysis, combine it with the ERP data that's automated into the cloud, and you can upload spreadsheets. Very easy to do. Just kind of upload it. It's now in the cloud. It's in the warehouse, and you can report on it in conjunction with your ERP data.
Okay, and then Josh wants to know, can you modify KPI's pre-built reports?
Yes, I'll take a look. Yeah, so absolutely, very, very easy. So the BICS platform is is very flexible, very easy to change reports, and all the reports that we've created can be easily changed and saved as a separate report in your folder or in a departmental folder. And the approach that we have taken to these applications is to bring over a really great deal of low-level transactional information. So what that means is the data is there in the cloud, and you can then just create reports if you find that you need to do that, or modify the reports that we've already created. So the good news is it's easy, it's flexible, and fully supported.
All right, I don't see any other questions, so this concludes the Q&A portion of our event. If you want to learn more about the capabilities of KPI Cloud Analytics, please reach out to us through kpipartners.com, and we'll have a member of our customer care staff contact you. We also invite you to follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter. And our Twitter handle is @KPIPartners. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on today's webinar, and thank you to Brian and Miles for presenting. Take care, everyone.